This stop is Riverdale Avenue and West 231st Street. Next stop, West 231st Street and Corlier Avenue. This stop is West 231st Street and Corlier Avenue. Next stop, West 231st Street and Broadway. Transfers available to the 1 train and Bx9. This stop is West 231st Street and Broadway. Next stop, West 231st Street and Bailey Avenue. Transfer available to Bx10. This stop is West 231st Street and Bailey Avenue. Next stop, Heath Avenue and Summit Place. This stop is Heath Avenue and Summit Place. Next stop, Sedgwick Avenue and Fort Independence Street. Transfer available to Bx3. This stop is Sedgwick Avenue and Fort Independence Street. Next stop, Sedgwick Avenue and Giles Place. This stop is Sedgwick Avenue and Giles Place. Next stop, Sedgwick Avenue and Stevenson Place 1. This stop is Sedgwick Avenue and Stevenson Place 1. Next stop, Sedgwick Avenue and Stevenson Place 2. Transfer available to Bxm3. This stop is Sedgwick Avenue and Stevenson Place 2. Next stop, Sedgwick Avenue and Dickinson Avenue. This stop is Sedgwick Avenue and Dickinson Avenue. Next stop, West Mosholu Parkway South and Paul Avenue. This stop is West Mosholu Parkway South and Paul Avenue. Next stop, West Mosholu Parkway South and Jerome Avenue. Transfers available to the 4 train, Bx2 and Bx28. This stop is West Mosholu Parkway South and Jerome Avenue. Next stop, Grand Concourse and Van Cortlandt Avenue East. This stop is Grand Concourse and Van Cortlandt Avenue East. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 204th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 204th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and Bedford Park Boulevard. Transfers available to Bx25 and Bx26. This stop is Grand Concourse and Bedford Park Boulevard. Next stop, Grand Concourse and Minerva Place. This stop is Grand Concourse and Minerva Place. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 196th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 196th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East Kingsbridge Road. Transfers available to Bx9, Bx22, Bx28, Bx34 and Bx38. This stop is Grand Concourse and East Kingsbridge Road. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 192nd Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 192nd Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East Fordham Road. Transfers available to Bx12 and Bx12 SBS. This stop is Grand Concourse and East Fordham Road. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 187th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 187th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and Field Place. This stop is Grand Concourse and Field Place. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 182nd Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 182nd Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 181st Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 181st Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East Burnside Avenue. Transfers available to Bx40 and Bx42. This stop is Grand Concourse and East Burnside Avenue. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 179th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 179th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 177th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 177th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and Morris Avenue. This stop is Grand Concourse and Morris Avenue. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 174th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 174th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and Mount Eden Avenue. This stop is Grand Concourse and Mount Eden Avenue. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 172nd Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 172nd Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 170th Street. Transfers available to Bx11, Bx18A and Bx18B. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 170th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East Clark Place. This stop is Grand Concourse and East Clark Place. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 167th Street. Transfer available to Bx35. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 167th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and McClellan Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and McClellan Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 165th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 165th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 163rd Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 163rd Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 161st Street. Transfers available to Bx6. Bx6 SBS and Bx13. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 161st Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 156th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 156th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 153rd Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 153rd Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 149th Street. Transfers available to the 2, 4 and 5 trains, Bx2 and Bx19. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 149th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 144th Street. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 144th Street. Next stop, Grand Concourse and East 138th Street. Transfers available to the 4 and 5 trains in Bx33. This stop is Grand Concourse and East 138th Street. Next stop, 3rd Avenue and East 138th Street. Transfers available to the 6 train, Bx2, Bx21, Bx32, Bx33 and M125. This stop is 3rd Avenue and East 138th Street. This is Bx1 to Mott 138th Street. A fare is required to ride.